2023 to be a year of significant declines in inflation, and it's actually our job to make sure that that's the case. But I would tell you that, with inflation...
Hello, welcome to Financial Stockholm. I'm Christopher Crystal. Today is Thursday, February 16th, 2023. And these are the views that we see coming out of Sweden, Europe in general, and how we may see an effect into the market. And really, for any strategy, you should talk to your advisor. This is not, investment strategy for you, just news on what's happening and to our interpretations of it. So the biggest news coming out of Sweden today is talking about Northvolt. Northvolt is a company up in Västerås, and they do this recycling of batteries. They're also working to develop battery technology. For instance, they're working with paper companies to have wood-based regenerable battery for electric vehicles. They had a project in the middle of Stockholm in an area we call Slussen, where they had this crane operating to be emission-free construction. So and they've been a large proponent to the Swedish government to say, hey, we need more power. We need to build more power. The Swedish government is very slow to act on this, and Ebba Busch was a couple weeks ago on this program and speaking about building windmills and lowering the paperwork needed, but still has yet to do anything. Maybe now that Northvolt is saying they're going to go to the market and they have plans to do this, and now that we look at a market scenario environment, which is better than it was in June, we will see this happening. They had hoped to go to market last year, from what I understand. But we'll see. And there's more positive news that Vattenfall is working on this Kriegers that down kilometers south of Trelleborg, empowering around 600,000 households in Denmark. They're going to build more offshore, should be between 30 and 50 wind turbines. I don't really agree with wind turbines because of the damage they do to the environment, A, to birds, B, to whales, sea life in general, especially when you put them out at sea, and when you put them in land, the destruction to the birds, bats, the forest, it's terrible. But these are projects that are ongoing. I mean, you can argue about the construction of power plants, for whatever environment and the environmental damage that they'll cause. So we need power, and the windmills are apparently going to be built. The Swedish government has agreed to this Kriegers. So we'll see what happens down there. What Vattenfall does. The wind turbines that have been used thus far are from Siemens Gamesa. So Gamesa has been running it, and as has Siemens. It doesn't look like it'll go towards Vestas Wind, despite it being off the coast of Denmark. So that will not help Vestas's revenues, but it is positive news in general. And also there was an article that was out this weekend in the Wall Street Journal talking about the Swedish rare earth minerals find up north. And I've asked, why haven't we seen more out of this? And apparently it's going to take 15 years before we can really develop these minerals, and we can really pull them out of the earth, so to speak, the rare earth. So don't expect anything on that short term, and expect more of these projects like the windmills, and hopefully we can get some nuclear power going, and we can build it at the speed that we built the first nuclear power in Europe. As opposed to the retake of 10 to 15 years. So that's good. And then really in general, Sweden is not so focused. It's focused more on external news. It's looking at China. It's looking at the balloons in the US. It's getting wrapped into this whole story. Really what it should be focused on is more what's going on here. Like for instance, the Nord Stream pipelines and what happened there. There is from the state news media, a discussion about what's happened with the Nord Stream. Was the US involved or not? And so they're citing the Cy Hirsch Substack articles, and they're looking at it from that point of view. So maybe now that we've seen our prime minister Ulf Kristersson in the Ukraine. Maybe we are getting closer to a Ukrainian-Russian peace talk, and we'll see a peace before we see continued war. Excuse me. It'll be some time to tell. But what is really disturbing and has not been talked about in Swedish news and will be talked about very shortly is the train wreck in Ohio. So Norfolk Southern had an accident. There were something like 120 cars carrying these very dangerous hazardous chemicals, one of them being chlorovinate. And this product, which if you add another chemical to it, can be used in PVC. But as it is with the vinyl chloride, can turn into phosgene, which is a poisonous gas that kills people and was used in World War I. We have this huge plume because the EPA in the United States decided to burn these. And so it's polluting the water, it's killing animals, killing birds. People were forced to evacuate. They're supposedly being told they can go back to their towns, but they're not getting EPA approval. And what's really tragic here is that this is the same railroad line, Norfolk Southern, that is owned by Warren Buffett, is a large percentage of the transportation index and percentage of many other indices, like the S&P 500. And the railroad workers were on strike. And the average railroad worker is making something between $50,000-$70,000, was not able to get 2 weeks of sick pay, which would have been something like $2,500 in general for these workers. And Norfolk Southern came in with record profits, is doing share buybacks and making a distribution dividend, is really not treating these railroad workers fairly, nor are they treating this town fairly. Between previous administrations, the Biden administration, the Trump administration, and the Obama administration, and they were allowed to kind of continue without doing these brake checks, and then you have this accident caused because of braking issues, or possibly caused because of the braking issues. And so this toxic plume of poison is up in the air. So that means it'll probably be in Sweden, because it's right now over Ohio, and then it moves out, and then it gets picked up by the Gulf Stream, and then within 2 weeks that'll be over Sweden. It'll go over Iceland first, and then over Sweden and Norway. So it's really something we'll probably be writing about, but a terrible situation, and something we should be looking on, because you now have some serious environmental disasters occurring under the Biden administration. If the US was involved, and I say if, but I'm pretty sure they were involved in the Nord Stream 2 and Nord Stream 1, that's a serious and worst environmental disaster that we've seen in a long period of time, if not the top one, say since World War I or World War II. And then this explosion and flames in Ohio would be a significant environmental disaster as well. So I would say these are some things to consider, but hopefully we had our retail sales figures out yesterday, and they showed a strength. They showed buying. They showed increases in cars, etc. So you saw a good amount of the economy, or a fair upside to the economy, all while the Fed has been able to raise rates and the ECB is raising rates. So it still looks to be a positive environment to June, and that's capped off with Norfolk saying they want to go public. That means the market is turning better. So we'll see what happens. And Tesla is also going to be charging other cars. So not just Teslas at the power stations, they're going to be opening up, and that's in the United States, and then ultimately probably Europe as well. So that's the growing trend in EVs, and a growing trend for this industry. So in general, we're going to wish you good luck. Hopefully you're subscribed, and we'll see you soon. Remember to talk to your advisor about any sort of investment strategy, and thank you very much. Bye-bye.